Gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis. What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. He looked good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off the Air on a Thursday here in the Quad Cities. February 6th, we are just a few days away from Super Bowl weekend. Of course, the big game coming up on Sunday. I want to welcome everyone. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're watching live on YouTube, we appreciate that. Please subscribe, do all those fun things. On a weird Thursday in the Quad Cities, ice greeted us as we woke up this morning. Several schools were delayed a little bit. My kids' school wasn't. The roads were completely fine, but that's a whole different story. But ice, and I got a sick kid downstairs that won't stop puking. So it's been a fun Thursday already in the Randazzo household. But despite all that, we're grinding, we're having a good time, and we got a lot to get to on today's show. A fun show, a show full of basketball, a little football at the end. Just in a short period of time, coming up in just a few minutes, we'll be joined by Jordan Delp, Augustana men's basketball coach. Augie's starting to play some really good basketball. They've won 2 straight. They have their bye this week, so they're back at it on the road on Saturday, but they're just one game under 500 in CCIW play, and right there in the mix to make the conference tournament and, make some noise when they get to that CCIW tournament. Of course, the CCIW, one of the best conferences in the entire country in D3 basketball per usual. So we'll talk to Jordan Delp about the Augustana Vikings and his first season as the head coach, but also some Quad City basketball talk as well. Nobody knows more about Quad City basketball, in my opinion, and he gets really annoyed when I say this, but no one knows more about basketball in the Quad Cities than Jordan Delp. He's affected it in so many different levels, so we'll talk to him about the big picture of Quad City basketball in the Quad Cities, the Vikings, and so much more. That's coming up in a matter of moments. On Tuesday night, it was a special night out in Central DeWitt for the Sabres as Lauren Walker became the all-time leading scorer in girls basketball history, passing Lindsey Smith, who's an outstanding basketball player and young lady in her own right as well. So really cool to see that happen. And we caught up with Lauren Walker. She'll be on the show after Jordan Delp. You'll want to check out that interview. A fantastic young lady, very insightful. And of course, the Central DeWitt Sabres atop the MAC standings. They hold their own fate in their own hands as well. And a year that you came in and nobody really talked about the Sabres when it came to winning the MAC championship, and they have the ability and the chance to do that. So we'll be joined by her in just a little bit. And then also we talked about that Super Bowl. Of course, Super Bowl Sunday means football, it means food, it means Super Bowl commercials and the halftime show. But for many, many, many of us, it means sports gambling as well. And of course, if we're going to talk about that, we're going to bring Dan Tomlin on at his Twitter following is Dan Tomlin Bets. He'll give us some plays, 4 plays for this weekend to make us some money while we watch some football and eat a whole bunch of food coming up on Sunday. So a lot to get to. Thanks again for joining us. Thank you for subscribing if you're on YouTube. And if you missed the show live, you can check it out on YouTube, but you can also check it out on all the podcasting platforms as well. So do us a favor, whether you listen to these on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or iHeartRadio or whatever you're listening to it on, make sure you go there, subscribe, follow, download the show every day and check out what's going on in the Quad Cities when it comes to sports right here in the QC. Busy night last night for basketball. We'll talk on that real quickly before we get to our first guest. And it was a bad night for the Fighting Illini once again on the road at Rutgers. Illinois dug themselves a 23-7 hole. They came all the way back, took the lead in the second half, but it was Rutgers riding the ship late. They go on to beat the Illini 82-73, the final score in that one. Will Riley, the freshman, we talked to Jim Madsen on Monday or Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday, and he talked about Will Riley probably being a one and done. Boy, you saw it in the last couple games. You saw it again last night. Really good basketball player. He played well, had 18 points, 6 assists, but it wasn't quite enough for Illinois as they fell once again. Tommy Ivicic also got hurt in that one in the second half, so we'll have to monitor his health as well. I think it was an ankle injury. Illinois shot 6 of 28 from 3. And that's unfortunately becoming a trend for the Fighting Illini. I don't know if you're an opponent of the Fighting Illini, how you're not just playing zone and daring Illinois to beat you from the perimeter each and every night out. So they're now just one game over 500 in Big Ten play, and their schedule continues to get difficult down the stretch. We'll talk a little more Illinois basketball coming up next week on the show as well. But tough news for the Illini. They lost last night by 9 at Rutgers, 82-73 your final in that one. A little closer to home, it was a big night at Leland Arena. The St. Ambrose men knocked off they won their game. The women lost theirs, and the Augustana women picked up a victory at home. They won 72-49 your final in that game. And speaking of college basketball, there's no better person to talk hoops with in the Quad Cities than my good friend Jordan Delp, head coach at Augustana. First and foremost, it's good to see you, my friend. It's been too long. How you been?
Yeah, I've been doing well, and thanks for having me. I told you when you texted me, I've been waiting for you to send out the bat signal, and finally got one. So yeah, no, I'm excited to be here. Looking forward to talking here for a bit, but just want to congratulate you on what you're doing and the plunge you're taking and the work you're putting in. It's been great to see you get this thing rolling and talk to some people far more interesting than me, that's for sure.
Oh, no, it's been a lot of fun. I appreciate you saying that. It's funny because I've had a lot of guests on, and I'll mention you too as well. You're one of those people that I reached out to kind of early and said, hey, I'm crazy. I'm doing this weird thing, and you were super supportive, and as you always have been. So I appreciate you. You've taught my kids a lot, but through the process of doing that, my kids have told me what you've said, and it was time to get out of my comfort zone, and I've done that, and it's been a lot of fun so far. So I wasn't waiting for you guys to get a win streak, but you are on a win streak, a 2-game winning streak, and playing some really good basketball with a lot of goals left to attain, which is exciting, I think. Talk about where you guys are at in an important part of your season right now.
Yeah, I think we're always focused on winning today, first and foremost, right? That's the only thing we have control over. And so we know that we have to make sure that we have a great day of preparation at practice tonight, right? And that's the only thing that we can really focus on is making sure that we're the best we can possibly be tonight as we prepare to go down to Milliken and play on Saturday in a tough environment against a team who beat us at home. And so obviously that is job number one. Now, we are also in control of our destiny, and that is a good place to be, right? And so as we look a little further out, certainly we know that we want to take care of business and that we are in kind of the driver's seat, or at least in control of our destiny, like I said, right? And there's a lot that goes into that, but it's also a good place to be, knowing that we're in control of what we do every day to make sure we take care of what we take care of. And so we're excited for the challenge, but we're laser focused on making sure we're prepared for Saturday, and that's all that matters right now.
I know that it's always a good conference, and it is once again some really good teams at the top, but a lot of parity and a lot of battles each and every night. It's not like you can show up and just beat anybody. Kind of talk about that, because I know you're a little things type of guy. The little things this year, I feel, are more important than ever before.
I would dispute that last part a little bit. I think they're always important, right? You know me. But we've talked about how there's not a huge margin for error. And on any given night, it doesn't really matter. Just last night alone, right? We had our bye. We were off. And Wheaton, who's 0-10, beat North Park, who's in second place in our conference, and one kid had 53 points. North Central, who we just got a big win against on Saturday here at home, well, they turned around and they beat Illinois Wesleyan, who was 10-1 in conference and 18-2, I think, at the time, and on a 10-game winning streak, and they beat them at home. And, so the number one team lost again, right? So on any given night, you just throw the records out in the CCIW and in most conferences, but certainly here where it's just a brand of basketball that is going to allow for any team to beat any other team on any given night. And like I said, you saw that last night. You've seen it in every situation and every year. And so we know that we have to, again, make sure we're only focused on that next one, because if we start worrying too far ahead, we're gonna get clipped, because this league's too good and too deep and too talented.
So I know you just said you got to worry about the next one. So I'm not asking about the future, but it's important in this conference to stack victories. And you've won 2 straight. How important is it to not just, I know every night's important and you worry about that one, but you start stacking 2 or 3 victories in a conference like this, it's going to show up in the standings pretty quickly.
Yeah, and certainly with where we were at and where we are at, right, kind of in that, that middle tier there where we got 4 teams kind of fighting for 3 spots. Every night matters, and every time we can put one on the left side of the column is going to help us get to that goal of making the conference tournament and giving ourselves a chance from there. And so it's something that's on our mind, but again, we just lock in on what we got to do each day.
I know you. I don't want to say this in a mean way, but you're never happy, or you're always looking for more, I guess I should say. What have you seen about your team that you've liked when it's come to getting better? What are you guys doing now that maybe you weren't doing earlier in the year? How have you improved throughout the season?
Yeah, I think we focused a ton on our defense and our rebounding and our hustle plays and some of those sort of aspects early in the year, and really did a nice job in those areas and have continued to. I think we've had a little bit of slippage in some areas that we're trying to address. But I think that offensively here, we have made some strides in terms of just kind of keeping the dominoes falling, we call it, right? And we have some systems, obviously, and we have what we want to get to, but they've done a very nice job of continuing to grow in terms of our offensive flow and our ability to play what we call .58 basketball, where within a half a second you've made your decision on the catch whether you're going to dribble, pass, or shoot. Right now, obviously, there's some exceptions to that if you're waiting for a ball screen or things like that, but we don't want teams to be able to reset or to load up on us on the defensive end. We want to keep those dominoes falling, like I said, and I think we've made a lot of strides in keeping the court open, which is allowing us to drive some gaps and keep that thing moving. And I feel, we tell our guys all the time, right? Every day we want to get a little bit better and we want to get a little bit more connected. The group has been very, very connected in a lot of different ways, and that has continued to grow.
Coach, you started that by talking about defense, and I think when I think Augustana basketball, we remember a lot of crazy nights at Carver and buckets and threes but all those guys, and yourself included, and I hate saying this, I can't believe I'm going to say this, it started at the defensive end. It had to start at the defensive end. Kind of talk about that with your program, because scoring's great and shooting and you could shoot and all that kind of stuff, but it starts at that end of the floor, doesn't it?
Yeah, we talk defense and rebounding first always, and we always will. And we know that if we defend and rebound at a high level, we'll shoot that. That makes the offensive end a lot easier too, right? If you're taking the ball out of the basket, well, that opposing team is going to have a great chance to set up their defense and a great chance to kind of limit your opportunities to get paint touches and to penetrate and get the ball moving like we're talking about, right? But more than that, we know that to win the games that we want to play in, as a program, and to win the games that truly matter, we have to be able to get stops and rebounds, so that again it makes our offense a little bit easier to run, but also because it's a heck of a way to break a team's spirit.
Jordan Delp, head coach of Augustana, joining us right now. Some really good leaders on your team. You talked about this team being connected, and Tyler Knuth's been fantastic on the floor. Talk about him, not just on the floor, but as one of those leaders, one of those guys that you expect stuff from on the floor, but maybe off the court as well.
Yeah, we have 8 seniors this year, and they've all been a tremendous advocates of our program and are trying to do things the right way. And we talked a lot about kind of setting a tone and making sure that we establish who we want to be and what our identity is as a program through those guys. And to a man, they've done a nice job of embracing that responsibility. Tyler, I mean, I've been with Tyler the last 4 years, so I wasn't with him his true freshman year, but I've been with him for the last 4, and the amount of growth he's shown on the court has been amazing. And you've seen it where he's the second leading scorer in our conference, and he's shooting the heck out of the ball, and he's the top of everyone's scouting report against us, and he's earned that opportunity. But even more so, I've seen him grow off the court into a young man who's figuring out, the consistency that is required to find success, the commitment and the discipline that is required to get out of things what you put into them, right, and what you want. And so, he's more of a lead by example kind of guy, right? And he just kind of shows up and does the right thing and is getting work in the unseen hours, which is huge for our guys to see, right? Our 5th-year guy who's, our most effective player, let's say offensively right now, is still down there putting in extra work, and that's just a huge example to set. But I've also seen him start to find his voice a little bit more as well as we've gone through this year, and certainly as we've gone through the course of the last 4 years. And we talk about how, you have a right to speak up, right? Our guys all do. If they see it, they need to say it. But at this point, they also have a responsibility to do so, because of where they're at and where we're at and what we need. And so, he's done a nice job of embracing that, even though I'd still love for him to talk a little bit more, but he has come so far and has made so many strides and has matured into a young man who is going to find a lot of success when that ball does stop bouncing. And we're just hoping that doesn't happen here for a while.
Yeah, Jordan Delp joining us now from Augustana College. It's your first year at Augustana, but it's not your first year at Augustana, if that makes any sense. Has there been anything, is there one thing that you've found and thought, man, I didn't expect that? Or is it kind of what you expected? What's that? There has to be a few things. What's that one thing that you're like, okay, I wasn't expecting that, but I guess this is the gig. This is what I got to do. Good or bad?
That's a great question. I mean, I'm learning things every single day still, and I will continue to, right? There's no I have it figured out, and I know that, and I'm aware of that, so I try to be very mindful of the things that I don't know and try to reach out and ask for help, whether that's from our staff or whether that's from our administration or whether that's from coaching friends that I have or whatever the case may be. I'm acutely aware that there's a ton of things I don't know, and there's some things I don't know that I don't know, right? And so I have to continue to be open to trying new things and making sort of those decisions in terms of, okay, there's a lot of different options here, right? But I got to find the one that's best for our entire group, okay? And I think that's something that, I've had to do in my past life, and it's something that I'm still learning through, but it has some comfort. Like I said, there's something new pretty much every single day. And I think maybe that's, something that has stood out is just making sure that I do a better job, and I'm still working on this, of kind of regimenting my day a little bit and relying on routines, because as much as I would love to just be kind of focusing on helping our guys be in the best mental and physical space that they can be, and tactically going through things on the board and trying to think through strategy and how we're going to do things, there's a lot more to this job, right? And I think one of the biggest, I guess, I don't know if it's eye openers or things that I've realized is, I've been an assistant, right? And then I was, before, in a former life, I was a business owner that was running a player development business that had a lot of people underneath me that were running workouts as well. And I think there's some aspects of this job, this role now, that are more similar to that actually than to the assistant's job, because you just have to treat yourself more as a CEO, essentially overseeing every aspect of the program. And I think for me, making sure that I do a better job of just sticking to the routines despite all the things that might come at you, right, to make sure that you continue to make the main thing the main thing. And there's a lot of different distractions that can come, right, and that are easy to kind of fall into, but we have to continue to develop the wherewithal to choose the pain and discipline in those. And I think that's something that I'm continuing to learn and grow through.
Coach, I know that the Quad Cities is extremely important to you. This area's got a lot of talent. You've got some local kids, 3 local kids, Maddox Diekman, and then Jake Willems and Dom Roden are freshmen. And you knew you had a senior class of 8 guys. So they haven't seen a ton of minutes. What have you seen from them in some important practices and the time they have gotten on the court?
Yeah, those 3 guys are coming. And so are some other guys, but certainly those 3 are doing a great job. And you've seen get in the game a few times here, the last few, and he makes a difference for us defensively and offensively as well. But man, he is just a different kind of defender. And we throw him out there and just kind of say, hey, go pressure the ball 94 feet and climb up into guys and make them uncomfortable. And he's one of the best I've seen doing it, right? And so he's been huge for us. And he's dealing with a little bit of an injury issue right now, and kind of all 3 of those guys are, right? And that's been kind of the biggest issue for them, right, is they've all had a different injury at a different time, right? And so Dom has kind of worked his way into the lineup, earned minutes, and now we're going to have to kind of, get him healthy and see where he's at, right? Maddox, who played down the stretch last year, got into a game and played huge minutes for us, and then had a phenomenal offseason. And was really making a ton of strides and was kind of dominating some open gyms from my understanding, from what I've been told by our guys, right? We're not allowed to be at those, but, that's what I was told. And we started practice, and he was doing a nice job there as well. And, we dealt with some injury issues for him. And then, a while back now, actually, he took a knee to the back of the head and got a concussion. And so that set him back a little bit, right? But now he's getting back in there and working his way back into a shape. And we see big things from him for these next 2 years for sure. And obviously, not to think that he doesn't have a chance to impact this year still, too. You never know what might happen. But he's a guy we're excited about and hoping for another healthy offseason of work where he can make some strides and come back ready to impact winning next year. And then Jake Willems, the same sort of thing. Jake was coming. And obviously we knew, we got 8 seniors, but Jake was one we kind of intended on, knowing he was going to really challenge our guys and had a chance to make some strides right away. And then unfortunately, came down and had his first sprained ankle of his life, which as a guy with bird ankles who spent most of his life nursing an ankle injury of some sort, I was, kind of jealous of that. But, he's working his way back in there and just he makes practice different. And you can tell when he's out there, right? And so, man, we're certainly expecting big things out of all 3 of those guys as we move forward and think they can be huge advocates of our program and huge guys in terms of impacting winning. And in the Quad Cities in general, we want to make sure that every player who we believe can impact winning here knows they have a home. It matters to me to make sure that we dominate our home base. And that's something we continue to work on and have to continue to do a better job of. But it is definitely something that's important to us and something that we will continue to stress for a lot of different reasons. But I've been around this area now for a long time, and I know not only how important basketball is to us as a community, but how well coached and how tough and how skilled and talented the kids are from around here. And, we know that we want those guys staying home.
As a guy who's worked with a lot of talent in the Quad Cities, how do you, because you're busy, obviously, you got a job, but are you keeping tabs on what Chasen's doing and what Ethan's doing and those guys you worked with and worked a long time with, Brock and Owen up in Iowa City as well. I feel like you're almost like a proud papa kind of watching these guys do what they do. And you have to be proud because they're putting Quad City basketball on a big stage in a great light. And I think that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe not to the extent I was in the past when I was putting together film edits for the guys and we were going through things and I was trying to help them, from afar. But definitely am certainly following up with guys and trying to communicate with them as much as I can and let them know what I see, let them know what I don't see. But more than anything, just let them know that I support them and let them know that we're watching and let them know that we have their backs. And, a lot of times it becomes just kind of kind of a pick-me-up message before a game or after, or a lot of times it's just checking in on them now at this point and seeing how they're doing. because, they're all grown men and they're all in control of their destinies and working their tails off. And if they need something, they know they can reach out. But for me, it's more about just continuing to make sure they're doing okay as men, right? And that's something we tell our guys here, and I've told guys forever is, as players, I've got to prioritize our program and what's best for all of us and how we do things. But as men, we're always going to prioritize what they need first as people. And that's always going to supersede anything on the basketball court. And so for me now in those relationships, we'll, like Ethan's going to come home this summer and we'll put some work in. But really, it's like, he's like my little brother, big little brother, I guess, but however you want to say that, right? Like, we're family. And so we talk like family. And he knows that I'm always going to be here for him. And so I hope so the rest of us.
You look at the relationships you have built. I don't want to ask you like your favorite player or anything like that, because that's just simply not fair to do. It's like asking you to pick your favorite kid. But can I ask you, who's the most competitive guy you've worked with? Is that a fair? Can I do that one? Is that fair? Or maybe give you 2 or 3 most competitive people that you've worked with?
Yeah, that's a tough one, because part of what gets guys to the level that some of those people are that we've talked is that level of competition, kind of like our competitive spirit inside them. So that's kind of like, it's almost one of the non-negotiables. Like if you want to reach a certain level and you want to continue to improve when you're there, that competitive nature, and not competitive outside, and the extra, even more that internal competition of competing with yourself from yesterday to make sure that you get better today. That is kind of across the board, right? With a lot of those guys, that's pretty standard, right? And so to try to single any of those guys out, I think is a difficult thing for me to do, because man, those guys all will rip your face off to get a win. Yeah. And so, I think back to some of those runs we would have in the old gym, and man, to try to pinpoint who was the most competitive out of that group would be very, very difficult. Oh man. Yeah. You kind of stumped me on that one, because those guys are there's a screw loose a little bit in a lot of them. Right. And we tell our guys, like, what you have to do to win consistently is unreasonable. It is. There's no doubt about it. That's true. But winners and people who continue to stride and improve and grow are the ones who are willing to do those unreasonable things more often than everybody else. And yeah, I'm kind of talking around your question and I'm not going to answer it, right? But it's because that is so prevalent in those guys. They just never stop.
You mentioned that old gym. I know some, I've heard some, I think I've popped in on 1 or 2 pretty good scrimmages with a lot of talent in that gym. Nicholas Bear was on recently kind of talking about that talent in that gym. I think he was talking about a story where, Brock was just a youngin' and he was going up against those guys when they were trying to play professional basketball and all those kind of things. You look at and remember those days and kind of look what's coming now or is here now. Did those guys, I don't want to say lay the foundation, because there's been there's been really good talent for a long, long time. So I'm going to get older guys to get really, really mad at me. But that group, those Chasons and Ethans and Nicholases and Sortillos and all those kind of things, kind of laid a foundation for what people are building on now. Is that okay? Is that right? Am I close there, or does it go back further than all that?
Yeah, I think it definitely goes back further than all that, first and foremost. Yeah. I can't, there's no way we're taking credit for that. I think that's been something that's been around the Quad Cities. Now, maybe we were able to centralize it a little more, and maybe we kind of, because of the nature of the world now and this sort of stuff and just social media in general, although that was never a big part of what we did, I think we're just more aware of those sort of things. Yeah. Like, there's been runs at the Davenport West Y since before I got here 25 years ago, right? So, I think it's just more in front of us now at this point. Now, what I will say is, yeah, those runs were pretty dang competitive, and we're going at it, and we're a fun thing to be a part of. But the other thing I would say is, yeah, all those guys were in there, and all those guys were competitive, and all those guys were, iron sharpens iron and going at each other. The other thing I would say is all those guys were coachable. They yearned for coaching and improvement, and so, I think that is something that helps them stand out as well. Is that they weren't too full of themselves. They weren't above coaching, and I coached them hard. And I made sure they knew when things weren't going the way they needed to go. And they responded always responded and kept coming. And, yeah, I mean, I think the Quad City basketball community has always, since long before I was around, has always kind of passed things down to that next level, or next generations, let's say.
Yeah.
But, you hope that will continue, right? Because that is the only way for us to continue the talented players, continue developing the talented players that we have from this area, right? Because, you can have coaches and all of that, and that's awesome, and there are a ton of coaches doing a ton of work and working their tails off, but they got to go at each other. And those older guys, the willingness of those older guys to bring along those younger guys is just a huge part of continuing that trend, because they got to learn from somebody. And I thought those upperclassmen guys, or those older guys, did such a great job of not letting those younger guys think that anything could be different for them. And so it just has to continue to be passed down from level to level. And I think that is one thing I worry about a little bit in this more individualized world that I was a part of developing, in all fairness, is, we want to focus on ourselves. Well, this is a game of 10 guys out there and 5 guys trying to stay connected and fight through and figure things out together. And, I think building your individual skill set can help improve that. But if you're not then applying that in even 3-on-3 and 4-on-4 games, man, it's going to be hard to have that chemistry when games really matter. And so it's always very important to me that, yes, we will work on your individual skills, but they have to apply and they have to be repped in real game situations, because otherwise it's just not going to happen.
Jordan Delp joining us right now. Jordan, you look like $1 million. Are you still playing? Can you still go? If we roll the ball out there with said players we just talked about, can Jordan still go get his?
What's that Toby Keith song? I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once. So I still, in my mind, I believe that I can get out there. And if we're playing a half-court game, I feel like I can probably hold my own. Once we start going up and down, that gets a little bit different these days, to be honest. But I mean, if I got to be pressed into duty, well, shoot, you can rest assured that I'm going to fight tooth and nail to try to get it done. Will that happen? Well, I don't know. But if I'm out there, well, we're going to fight.
You went from being the young pup to the wily veteran pretty fast, it feels like, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, eventually you just stick around long enough. That's the way it goes. But yeah, it's certainly a shift, right? But just keep going.
I want to wrap things up by going back to Augustana. You have 3 of your last 5 at home, and I know that place is important. And when that place gets rolling, it can be a huge factor in a basketball game. Kind of talk about that, because a big one this weekend, go to Milligan, get the job done. But then you look 3 or 4, the last 4 at home, and boy, I know Wesleyan got you the first time around, and they're really, really good. But that's how you finish up the season. Not to look too far ahead, but nice to have a majority of the games at the Carver Center to end this season.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we were some road warriors there for a while, and we got a lot of our, especially our road conference games, out of the way early. And would have liked to have had a few of those back, but here we are. And so, yes, it's nice to have that opportunity. Again, of course, we're only worried about Saturday, but I think, in our locker room, we have a collection of pictures in a lot of different spots, but in one, there's kind of a flow. And the second to last one is a picture of our crowd, and on the bottom of it says Carver Magic. Okay, because that place, when it's rocking and when things are going right and when it's filled, right, it creates some magic for us, right? And it always has. And, you bring up the last game against Wesleyan. Well, the last game of my freshman year against Wesleyan, they came in as a number 1 team ranked team in the nation, and we got a big upset against them here to end our year, right? And so, those sort of things happen. And a lot of time, obviously, they happen because of what our guys do on the court, right? That is always going to be the case, and that is always going to be who deserves the credit. I can tell you that when our students come out, when our faculty and our campus community come out, and when our Quad City community come out and support those guys and get that, man, it makes an impact on us and it helps us win, right? And so, shoot, man, we got 2 Wednesday games at 7, the 12th and the 19th, and then that 4:15 game against Wesleyan at home there to finish our year on the 22nd. And shoot, the more people we can pack into that Carver Center, the better I'll feel about our odds for sure, because it looks pretty cavernous in there right now and the gym's not set up. But when that arena's set up and when it's rocking, it gets pretty tight in there for opponents. And our community, both again that Augustana community and the broader Quad City community, make a huge impact on that for us. And cannot thank those people enough for their support in the past, and really hope to continue earning it as we move forward, and think that we're playing a brand of basketball that is really enjoyable to watch, and one that speaks to the blue-collar nature of the Quad Cities.
JD, during that Final Four runs, those couple Final Four runs or Elite Eights, those glory years, I did a editorial and I meant it. When the Carver Center gets rolling, I'm not saying it's the best atmosphere in just the CCIW, pound for pound college basketball. Like, I remember sitting in that place and it's shaking because of how loud it was and how things were rolling. So it makes a huge impact. It does. You go in there and a little cavernous when you just walk in, but when that place fills up a little bit, man, it gets rolling. So get out there, enjoy some good basketball for Augustana. Best of luck the rest of the way. Get in that CCIW tournament and then go win the damn thing. And then go to the Nationals and do some more. So always appreciate your time. Thanks for taking the time to do it. And I'm going to bug you again. So be ready. And we'll get that internet, either my internet or your internet, a little better the next time. But we survived.
Appreciate your patience with me over here, and thank you for having me on, Matt. Love what you're doing here, and I've really enjoyed watching what you've already put out. And I probably won't watch this one, but I'll keep watching long after that too.
Oh, a lot of people will watch this one. That's the beauty thing. Jordan Delp, we appreciate you. We'll talk to you real soon.
Thanks, Matt.
All right. We got a lot more to get to on Off the Air on a Thursday. Coming up right around the corner after the break, Lauren Walker is the all-time leading scorer at Central DeWitt High School, passing Lindsey Smith. An awesome story. We're going to catch up with her right after the break. You're watching Off the Air on a Thursday.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Thursday. Thanks so much for joining us. High school basketball season has hit the home stretch with the regular season ending right around the corner. Along with those conference races come some big milestones as well. And we're joined by a young lady who experienced quite the milestone on Tuesday night. Lauren Walker from Central DeWitt joins us. And she's now the all-time leading scorer in Central DeWitt basketball history. Lauren, when you hear that, what does that mean when you hear somebody introduce you as that?
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. You know, if you would have told me my freshman year that I was going to be the all-time leading scorer, I'd have been like, you're crazy. So I'm so thankful. It's so crazy, to be honest. I'm still like, it hasn't like quite hit in yet. So it's crazy.
So take me to Tuesday night, because did you know of the record? Did you have do you have a tally in your room or something? Or take me how you found out you were close and then maybe close enough to break the record.
Yeah, at the beginning of the season, I knew that it was going to take a lot to get it. I honestly wasn't super confident that I was going to get it. And so I just kind of thought about it then, but then was like, whatever happens, happens. And then I wondered if maybe I was getting close, but I didn't know for sure. But within the last week or so, I kind of I didn't ever want to look at my total points or anything because I just don't want to be thinking about any of that. But I kind of started seeing I'd read newspapers and they'd be like, oh, Lauren Walker's at 350 or Lauren Walker's at 400 or whatever. So then I was like, wait, maybe I'm kind of close to this. And then there were just kind of little talk around, not a lot, but just I was like, I wonder what that's about. But then so I kind of knew I was getting close and probably going to get it within the next few games, but I didn't know for sure until right before the game. I got told how many points away I was, and I was like, oh, wow, this could be the night. But so then I was just, it was just don't think about it, Lauren, just play basketball. But yeah.
Who told you? And then do you do math in your head during the game or when it gets close? Did you know this possession might be it or that possession might be it?
I wasn't trying to do the math a little bit, but we have a scoreboard that tells how many points each player is at. Mm-hmm. So I did was able to look at it a few times and be like, oh, I'm kind of close. I got told actually that it was 18 points to break it, but I think it was actually 20. So I kind of got to the 18 and I was like, wait, I'm supposed to have broke it by now, but I was like, what's going on? But then I scored the next one and it was like, oh, there we are. But yeah.
So take me through that record breaking buck. Obviously you thought it might be the one before, but when it goes through, I wasn't there, so what was the shot, what was the play, and obviously what was the reaction afterwards?
Yeah, I got fouled, so it was actually a free throw. I wish I would have made the basket because it would have been an and one, but I was at the free throw line and I was like, okay, so probably this is going to be it. So I kind of put a little pressure on myself. I was like, don't miss, Lauren. Because I saw my teammates had a banner that they all kind of had face down on the bench. And I was like, oh, so it must be getting close. So I was at the free throw line and I was like, don't miss, don't miss. So I made the first one and then all my teammates stand up cheering really loud. So I knew that I had done it and then made the next one. And then just coach took a timeout and they all came running at me, gave me big hugs. The entire crowd stood up. They were all standing up, cheering really loud. And so it was so special just to have your teammates there and they're all so proud of you. And the community has been amazing. So them just it was a packed crowd last night being senior night also. So it was just the bleachers are all full. Everyone's standing up, clapping for you and looking at you. And it's just all that hard work that, you've kind of put in and it just finally kind of paid off in a big night like that. So it was really fun. It was really special.
It sounds like a perfect storm. Senior night at home, being able to do it like that. When you look at who you passed, and when we started the interview before we got rolling, I said, I remember Lindsey Smith. I've covered Lindsey Smith. First off, a fantastic person, an amazing athlete. What do you know about Lindsey? I'm trying to do the math in my head on how old she may be compared to you, but your knowledge of Lindsey and what does it mean to not just set a record, but you're an elite company when you're joining a young lady like that.
Yeah, Lindsey's amazing. Obviously I think I was when she was playing 4 or 5 years old. So I wasn't super old. So I don't remember a whole lot, but I just remember my parents, we would go to games and my parents would talk about her. And even now they talk about her and say how amazing she was. And I remember little stories my mom tells me, there was also another girl that played with her that were her mom worked with my mom, so I knew her a lot because she babysat me. But I would be like, Mom, I want my hair like Lindsay, or Mom, I want my hair like Rachel. So it was just really fun, like little memories like that. And I definitely know that I looked up to them, even if I didn't really know it right away because I was so young. But I just looked up to all them, and it's so cool and people say great things about Lindsay, and it was super cool that she was able to join me last night and just be there. And so I know she was amazing. She played college basketball at a high level, obviously did have the record, so that's a great player. So it was just really fun, and it's cool that she was there last night.
A special, special night. Lauren Walker from Central DeWitt joining us right now on Off the Air. And I want to talk to you a little bit more about the record, but then we got to talk about your basketball team because they're pretty good right now. But you have a chance now, not just to have that record, but you can put some space in front of put some distance, make it tough to get to. Talk about that, because you still have plenty of basketball, at least 4 games, if not more, or more than that in the postseason. Hopefully a lot in the postseason, but a lot more work to do as well.
Oh yeah, we still have a lot more work to do. And to me, obviously, I have been able to accomplish this goal, but that's not the end goal here. Like, we have a lot of team goals that we still want to reach. But yeah, we have a lot of games left, and my teammates have just been amazing. You know, they have so much confidence in me, and they get me the ball, and that just helps me have confidence in myself. And so just the way I've been playing lately, I've just been playing basketball, not really thinking about much else, just wanting to win, wanting to get my teammates involved, them wanting to get me involved. And so it's just been such a fun year because of all that. So
going into high school, and you mentioned you would have never imagined as a freshman that you would be doing this as a senior. When did you get rolling? When did you, going into this year, obviously high expectations, but when did you realize that, hey, I'm pretty good at this? I might be able to do some good things here in high school.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of probably halfway through the season a little bit. You know, I was starting the season really strong. Like, my first game, I had 38 points, and I was like, oh my gosh, Lauren, like, this is crazy. And then I just kind of kept performing. And I think a lot of it is because, you know, like, even last year, I put a lot of pressure on myself just because I wanted to play college basketball and just wanting to have certain numbers and all that type of stuff. Whereas this year, I've just been able to kind of relax and obviously still want to do great things, but just be able to play basketball and not worry about anything else. And I mean, obviously it comes to prove that that's when you play your best, when you're just playing and not thinking about much else. So I think, yeah, halfway through the season, I was like, wait, like, Lauren, you're like shooting really well and doing all this stuff, so don't stop. But
yeah, no, it's been special. Going into the season team-wise, I knew the MAC was going to be very, very good. A lot of individual talent and then a lot of talented teams. And I heard about, and rightfully so, Pleasant Valley and Davenport North and Bettendorf. And I didn't hear Central DeWitt as much there. Going into this season, I don't want to say you guys used it as motivation, but how good did you guys think you could be going into the season? And now here we are, 14 games through the season, and you're in first place in a very good conference.
Yeah, I think nobody but us knew that we were this good, you know, and I think we've always kind of been an underrated team, sorry. No one really like puts us in the picture, but I think we just play so well as a team. We have a lot of little pieces that just all fit together. And so, yeah, we definitely had a chip on our shoulder. Like, you want to prove them all wrong. I mean, they all thought we were going to get 4th in the MAC, and here we are saying that's just really exciting. You know, we just play so well as a team. Everyone gets involved, and we just come out at night and we're like, hey, like, I don't care which team it is. Obviously, Pleasant Valley, North Bend, they're all amazing teams, great players on each team, great coaches. But you just got to go into those games with a lot of confidence and say you can compete with anybody, and that's just what we've been able to do. So
I had your coach on the show a couple weeks ago, and he said, you know, all respect to all the other great players that are going to D1 schools and all that, but the best player in the MAC, and he's biased, is Lauren Walker. To hear him say that, or to know that he said that, hopefully you watched, but to hear him say that, what does that mean to you, to have a guy in your corner that has that much trust and faith in what you do on a basketball court?
Yeah, no, it means the world. Coach O has been amazing. He's just been there for me, supported me so much, put so much confidence in me and pushed me. And for him to say that, and say it like on a live thing like this, you know, it just means a lot, because coaches, without a good coach like that, you know, who's going to believe in you, who's going to believe that you can do things like this. So Coach O has just really been amazing. I could not be blessed with a better coach. I truly believe like I wouldn't be doing these things without having him coach me for the past 3 years. He's just been amazing, and all my coaches are so amazing. They have so much confidence in me. They push me to want to be better and win just for them in that aspect. So they are all just amazing. So I'm so thankful for them all.
You mentioned that the MAC, nobody expected this, but here we are, one game in front of two really good teams, 3 games left, 4 games left, whatever it is. Now you're in the home stretch. What would it mean to, when all things are said and done, your senior year? Yeah, leaving as the school's all-time leading scorer is pretty cool, but I bet a MAC championship would make you smile just as much.
Yeah, no, MAC championship would mean, definitely just as much to me, because that's just a team thing. And especially when no one really believed that you were going to be in that spot, to come in and prove all those people wrong and just show, it just shows so much for us as a team. It makes us all happy. That's one of the first goals on our papers, to be a MAC champ. So it would mean so much. It just shows so much about us as a team. And definitely being a senior, this being my last year, this is my last chance to do that. I haven't been able to be a MAC champ yet. So, and just being a MAC champ with all those really great teams, really great players in the conference is just really exciting to think about. So
you guys go from overlooked to kind of a target on your back. I don't think you're flying under the radar anymore, especially with the record the other night, but just your team record and 13-1. Has things kind of changed, and do you embrace getting everybody's best shot? There won't be as many marquee matchups down the end of the road, but some of these teams know that they can ruin your season or put a check mark in their column to get a victory down the stretch. You're expecting everybody's best shot down the stretch, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. I think the most important thing for us is just keep playing as a team, keep playing with confidence. There might be things changing, like we're getting a lot more attention, but we just can't let that affect us. It's the biggest thing we talk about is not being cocky, but being confident. And that's just what we have to do. We have to go into these games knowing at any point, any team could win, and we want to be that team. So we just have to play really smart basketball. Everyone kind of has developed and they know their role, and that's what makes us the team we are. So we just have to keep focusing on that, focusing on our end goal, and definitely just take it one game at a time to finish out the season strong like we want to.
All right, let's get to know Lauren Walker a little bit before we let you go. If you're gonna pig out some night and go and get that favorite food, that favorite meal, where are you heading to for that?
Oh, that's hard. I am the least picky eater ever. I just eat anything, but top tier is going to have to be sushi. Ooh. I love sushi, and I'm going to Red Ginger. That's where I'm going.
All right. I like it. One-on-one with any player, female, male in the country ever. And you get one-on-one game. Who are you picking?
Michael Jordan.
Oh, I like it. I appreciate that, because youngins jump on this LeBron thing, and I'm old school. Why Michael Jordan?
I just, I have a picture of him in my room. Michael Jordan, I've always just liked him. Not to say like more than LeBron, but I think he's just the GOAT, and he's so amazing. If I got to play one-on-one with him, like he could have all his rings on his fingers and all this stuff. That'd be so cool. Okay,
we after basketball, I know you're going to Lewis to play basketball. Yeah. What does the future hold after basketball for Lauren Walker? When I check in on Lauren Walker in 15 years, maybe after a 12-year career in the WNBA or 10-year career in the WNBA, who am I meeting? What are you doing? What do you want to do?
Well, I want to go into pre-dental, and I want to be a pediatric dentist. So I want to work with kids. And then, hopefully in 12 years, I have a beach in Turks and Caicos, because that's my favorite place to go. So that would be the goal. So be a successful dentist. And then my dream always is I really want to go. Like I've always heard of travel nurses. I think it'd be cool to like go to different countries who maybe don't get the dental care that they need, and go like kind of supply stuff for the kids or like adults who don't get that dental care. So that's a dream too.
Love it. Good gosh. I tell you, have you thought of doing this stuff? You are very well spoken. Have you ever thought of doing this kind of thing? By the way, don't start your own podcast in a loft. I mean, that's a bad career choice. But doing media stuff, you do a good job.
Thank you. Yeah, I actually have, the more like I've gotten interviewed, I'm like, that'd be cool if I could do that in like the WNBA or NBA and interview all these famous people. Like, that'd be awesome. So maybe you'll see me out there too.
All right. Last one for you, and I got to let you go. But there's this lady by the name of Caitlin Clark that's been doing some pretty awesome stuff. And so we've been talking a lot about women's basketball, girls basketball here on the show, covered it in the area for 25 years. And it's my thought is that it's always been really good, but she shined light on it. And now people are kind of discovering what it is. What has she meant, not just her, but that team and just recent years, meant to young ladies like yourself that are playing basketball since the age of 4 and loving a game, and now you guys are maybe getting the spotlight you deserve?
Yeah, no, it's truly amazing, especially because, she's from Iowa, small town kid, just like all of us. And it's just crazy to think about because, yeah, even like you can just see the transition, like from my freshman and sophomore year, even to our basketball, maybe like girls basketball didn't show as much. And then just last year and this year, it's just been insane. People are finally realizing like the hard work that we all put in. And I know boys do that too, but like boys and girls, like we all put in the same work, and the girls didn't necessarily get the credit that they deserve. And now just Caitlin Clark has been amazing, and I think she's just put so much confidence even into me. I'm like, hey, she can do that. Like, I can do huge things like that too. I can make an impact. And I think a big part is what an impact she has made on little kids, and it's just made me want to do that too, because maybe obviously I won't get to do that around the entire country like she has, but just the little girls in my community, like I want to make them like basketball. I want to be a role model to them, just like I look up to Caitlin Clark, and so many other girls do too. So it's just been such a fun ride to be able to watch her, and being her going to Iowa. It's just been fun, so.
It's been awesome. It's been awesome catching up with you. I've admired your basketball on the floor for a while. I admire even more off the court. A fantastic young lady. Best of luck. Go win yourself a MAC. Go win yourself a state championship. Best of luck in college. Do me a favor. Tell that coach of yours, I know him pretty well, that he's dodging me in pickleball. Like, he doesn't want any part of me in pickleball. So
you're probably too good. I'm sure you're good.
Well,
I'll tell him.
Just tell him, don't be scared. Play me someday, okay?
I'll have a chat with him tomorrow.
I appreciate it. She's Lauren Walker, a senior at Central DeWitt. Lauren, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. That is Lauren Walker. Obviously, very exciting time for the Central DeWitt girls basketball team. We wish them the best of luck the rest of the season. We're just getting warmed up here on Off the Air on a Thursday. We'll be right back after this.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. and the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air on a Thursday here in the Quad Cities. Of course, we're creeping closer and closer to that big game this weekend. It is Super Bowl weekend, Super Bowl Sunday, right around the corner. Everyone is excited about the commercials, the halftime show, and most importantly, the gambling, Danny. Dan Tomlin joins us now to get us set and get us some plays and win us some money on Super Bowl Sunday. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Oh, I'm good, man. I'm ready to roll. This is gonna be fun. It's there's a lot to bet on, a lot of pageantry. But the biggest thing, I don't know about you, but I get distracted during the game because, for a long time I was the only degenerate with any money on the game, and so there's people eating and talking, and you're like, quiet down,
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out how many seconds long the national anthem is.
It's funny because in my house, and we'll do like one of the Super Bowl grades or whatever with people that are over, and like my kids or whoever is super pumped about like, hey, I got to hit this number. I can win $100. And I'll be like, I don't care. I got like 10 bucks going on right now. That's worth way more than that. So like, I don't really care about your little Super Bowl numbers, but, it's fun. And like, that's the thing is there's a lot of volume that you can do. So it can almost become overwhelming because there is a lot. I try to stay disciplined during the football season. I think this is the one Sunday I don't feel I'm as disciplined. I kind of like to have some fun as well. Is that you? Do you want to stay disciplined or do you kind of let loose a little bit and have some fun?
So I go against my feelings and I stay disciplined.
Oh, good for you.
I stick to a certain number of units. I don't deviate from that. But that's because like to do this and do it long term, I have found that I need to just be strict with how much I bet, the rationale behind it. Maybe, when you talk about units, maybe I'll dedicate 0.2 or 0.3 units to like some crazy stuff. But, for the most part, I try and stay consistent because I find myself going, the minute I do that, well, that dam is hard to keep intact, and when the dam breaks, you're like, oh my god, I don't even know why I'm out there.
No, you're right, and I'm proud of you. And I wish I was. And I'm pretty good through the year. I get mad, and we'll talk later on about. I get mad in baseball season because I get bored, and then I'll start chasing some things and doing something. Or when I win some bets, like. On Wednesday night was a good prop night for me for the NBA. And then I just get kind of lazy ever so often. And I'll say to myself, like, just because you were winning didn't mean you could be undisciplined. And that's the best way to put it is just be disciplined, do the things you should do. So Dan, you be disciplined. I'm going to do some dumb things. I let my wife bet on the coin flip and all that kind of stuff. But, let's stay disciplined. First and foremost, I guess when you look at this game, there's so many different ways to bet it. Prop bets, specialty bets, teasers, all that kind of stuff. Do you have a philosophy or a thought process as you go in, or is it just as usual you start looking for value in any market you can?
Yeah, that's a great setup because especially with this game, and every book is trying to get your attention. So they're putting out specials. DraftKings has like 150 different bets, all with like Taylor Swift themes. Like nothing with her, no novelty props with her in it, but like names of songs, names of albums, in such and such era, that kind of thing. And when you price those bets out on a different book with relatively the same props, you end up usually getting a better number without like the package deal, so to speak. So I like to keep my same kind of system. I think about what the game's going to look like. I try and predict what the teams are going to do defensively, what the teams want to do offensively, how they match up. where the weaknesses are. Like just today, I think Jalen Carter missed the media day with illness, and like that's big news.
Yeah.
I didn't see a practice report yet on whether or not he practiced or what that situation is, but stuff like that. As you get closer, the good thing about betting early, you get a sharp number. The good thing about betting late is you have all the news.
Yeah.
So those are two things to look at. But what I like to do is, in my mind's eye, then think about who are going to be kind of those players that really make a difference. And, when you think about it, boy, who would have thought Zach Ertz had 10 catches against the Eagles last week? So Travis Kelce's going to get targeted. Noah Gray is going to get targeted too. On the Eagles side, I think that the Chiefs will probably do a lot. I think there's just going to be a lot of blitzing. I think the tight ends come into it. I think Saquon, his number is actually coming down, but I still think that 120 or whatever is a pretty steep number. So like you said, you got to look for value because everybody in the world is going to be on Saquon Barkley anytime touchdown. I mean, that number was like minus 250 or something like that. And you can't bet on an anytime touchdown with those kind of odds.
Yeah.
So that kind of leads into our first bet though, because
it.
if you dig around a little bit, it's minus 195 for a touchdown for Saquon Barkley. But if you dig around a little bit, you can get minus 140 or plus 140 pretty much everywhere, or plus 150 at Bet365 for a first half touchdown. And I'm not going to make that an official play because I don't like betting touchdowns. I think that in some ways they're a little bit fluky, especially in a Super Bowl, and I just generally don't bet touchdowns or touchdown parlays. But if you're going to bet a Saquon touchdown, like if that's what the thing you want to do, the number for first half is way better than an anytime touchdown. So anyway, that's how I'd approach that one.
Yeah.
If you're gonna bet the coin flip, if you want to be the guy that bets the coin flip, make sure you get to a site that has plus 100 for both sides. So I know the DraftKings for sure is doing a no vig bet on that.
Oh,
so
okay. That's
some places
different.
are doing minus 102, minus 104. Don't pay the extra money.
Wow.
And if you're limited on some sites, go to your max on one site, go to another site, and make sure that you arbit. And those kind of bets like that, those goofy bets, actually really help the health of your account if you're getting limited.
Yeah.
So that's a little.
And I know what you're talking about. Trust me. But what do you mean by limited? Explain that to people listening.
A lot of times, if you're a winning bettor, especially on like straights and getting early value on a number, so like say you had Steph Curry at 30 points at plus 100, and by the tip it was minus 170 there, and you do that pretty consistently, your account's gonna be flagged, and you're gonna be limited to how much you can bet on props, totals, money lines, things like that. These novelty bets like this are a good way to make it look like you're a little more random, and that not that they will for sure, but that it's more likely that it'll get you onto a different kind of list and open some of those things up.
Gotcha.
So
my wife, as we've mentioned, always does the coin toss. I'll text you when she decides and fade it.
Okay,
fade
so she
it,
hasn't
fade
made
it.
I keep on here excited thinking, okay.
No, I can't get it. One, she's in Florida, working, and I know it doesn't sound like it because you're in Florida. It's a good thing, but she's in Florida. She won't get back till Saturday, and honestly, it'll be like not all afternoon, but like 2 PM. Where I'll be like, hey, like let's get this thing knocked out so that we're not forgetting about it, and then she'll give me something probably like 3, 4 in the afternoon.
This is like a Punxsutawney Phil situation. You gotta take a video, you gotta post it on X, because everyone will be fading.
I know. I've talked about it so much this week on this show that I'm going to probably let everybody know what it is. It's called Fading Jen is the thing. Fade Jen and you'll do well. One thing I wanted to mention too is sometimes I get, and I don't know if you agree, sometimes the specials that books run, there's obvious ones, and I'm not just talking about for this game, but there's obvious, like if they ever put something out, and they don't do it very much anymore, where it's like, Steph Curry scores a point and you win your bet, minimum $20 or maximum $20, whatever. But a lot of times when books push out specials, they don't hit a lot. I mean, they know a lot. Mm-hmm. So like one of them, the DK's doing their happy hour this week, and I think one of them was Saquon Barkley over
35 yards in the first quarter.
Yes.
And I didn't touch that with the 10-foot pole.
Thank you, because it almost made me want to look what it was under 35 or his first quarter under.
Because you can't find that line anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I should have looked around for his first quarter lines, but it very well, I'm not saying that it couldn't hit.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the price was, but it sure
it went from plus 165 and they boosted it. No, 135 to 200. Plus 135 to 200, something like that. But it always seems like they know something.
I did go so because of the timing of this, and those plays are what you're referring to are the happy hour plays that DraftKings puts out pretty much every day during the week here, leading up to the Super Bowl. I did place the one that was A.J. Brown and Xavier Worthy, each to record 50 receiving yards.
Oh, that was a good one.
That was boosted from 100 to 200. I did that for a full unit. And then today, I hemmed and hawed about this, but either Jalen Hurts or Patrick Mahomes to score a touchdown, it was boosted to plus 100 for $50.
Just because of Jalen.
I would say that's as loose as I get, because I don't bet touchdowns. Mm-hmm. But I felt like that was pretty good value just because, Jalen Hurts vultures so many touchdowns.
That would be the worry that I have about Saquon.
It is, for sure.
That's the biggest worry with that one as well. So
inside the 5, it's probably not going to be a Saquon touchdown. I mean,
yeah, which is crazy.
Okay, so one of the things that we are going to play is going to be a FanDuel special.
Okay.
They have these throughout the season. This is, like you said, you got to be really picky about, essentially, was I going to buy something like this anyway? And are they giving me a good discount? Are they giving me a good sale? Travis Kelce and A.J. Brown, 25 receiving yards each half for plus 650. We're going to go half a unit. And I just, that plays into kind of my thesis of the game. I don't think 25 yards is a lot for Travis Kelce. I think he runs those 8-10 yard routes, sits down, breaks some tackles, gets 10 or 12 yards. And then I think that it was pretty clear that A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts were like in sync against the Commanders. And I don't think this is too large of a number. I think the game stays competitive. At plus 650, I think it's pretty good value.
Yeah.
So it's hard to find, like, how do you put a number on that? Well, on ESPN they had the same bet but at 20 yards for plus 250. So it's like I don't see too much of it. If they end on 23 and I lose the bet, I still like the value at plus 650 more than plus 250. So that's the first one I'm coming with.
I'm actually betting that as you talk. So,
yeah. The other one that I like is for both teams. This is a super straight bet, but we're basically going to have 2 straight bets and 2 long shots with the ones we gave out last week. Both teams to score 20 points is hovering right around minus 115, minus 120. On some sites, you have to parlay it, like team totals over 19.5. But I just love that number, and I think that there's lots of ways to get there. And I think that for that price, you're going to bet to win 1 unit. So I'm going to count it as minus 115 because that's what I got on it. So we're betting 1.15 units to win 1. But I just really like that. And it's hard to pick a winner because I think that it could look a lot like the last Eagles-Chiefs Super Bowl. where the Chiefs win at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I saw somebody on Twitter today said, "How do I bet Eagles to win, but only a 58-minute line?" And I thought that's pretty funny because you just think there's going to be some Chiefs magic that happens in the last drive.
Or
Chiefs
a call,
magic,
or a
Sirianni
call.
screwing up,
Yeah, or a call that
What's
goes
that?
their way, or a referee call that goes their way.
Now I got to tell you, there's part of me that thinks the Eagles win, and that there is a little bit of overcompensation on not calling things against Mahomes, because they've come out now and said, like, we hear you, but our officials do a great job, yada yada. The fact that they're addressing it publicly leads me to kind of think that, like, I don't know that he's going to get any calls unless they are, like, really bad.
Yeah.
And how does that swing the game?
Yeah.
So,
that's a good point.
But there definitely have been some calls in big spots that have helped them.
So what number did you get on that? Minus 115 or minus 150?
Minus 115 for both teams to score 20.
Okay, I like that.
I think I booked it at Bet365, but I know that when I looked it up on DraftKings, it's a pretty common number.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you remember your 2 from last week? Do you have 4 today, or do you have...
No, the 2 from last week and then the 2 today.
Okay, so let's review the 2 from last week. Can you still get them is the question.
That's a great question. Let me see here.
I can fill. I'm really good at, like, stretching.
Yeah, no, that's fine. We did Goddard, 5 receptions and 40 yards parlayed together. Because there's just too much juice on.
And it was what, plus 116 or something like that?
Yeah, plus 115. Yep.
I can't remember my kids' birthdays, Dan, but I can remember your stupid bet from last week. That's
okay.
That's good parenting right there.
I won't tell anybody.
Yeah, please keep it between us.
Yeah, right. Yep.
Yeah, because I'm curious.
Yeah, I think that's probably still there. I mean,
Ish.
The 5 is at minus 130. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get you where you need to be.
Yeah.
Or in the neighborhood.
So, yep. And then we did Mahomes attempts over 36.5 on FanDuel, and then 45 on 365.
Say that one more time. Over 35 and over 40.
36.5, which was his number, and that was plus 108 on FanDuel.
Is it
and then
still
45? I think we did 45 for like maybe a quarter unit. It was plus 600 on 365, and that number has dropped down to. We got it at 600 last week. That number's dropped down to 525.
Okay, all right.
And let's see what the over/under is. How that's dropped. Attempts. Yeah, minus 115. So we got a little bit of value there. But really, the value's in the plus 600 going down to plus 525.
Yeah.
So yeah, Goddard receptions and yards. Mahomes passing attempts. Both teams to score 20. And then our FanDuel, it's in featured plays.
I was
receiving.
honestly, I was just gonna ask that because I went in. You think it's in feature plays?
And that's receiving, yeah.
All right, I'm just gonna write it down because it's bad to watch.
Try to
figure out feature plays.
So it's a little bit tricky to find some of these things, but for that you click into the game, and then you scroll down and it's under game specials receiving, and I looked through all those, and when I saw the AJ Brown and Travis Kelce, I was like, wow, that's kind of right. That's hovering right over the target of who I wanted to look at anyway.
So I see.
And so yeah,
I see. Hold on a minute.
Plus 650. So
you know what's interesting, which you don't want to do this, but did you see the one where it's Brown and Kelce 5 yards receiving each quarter?
Yeah.
But that's the problem is if a team's winning or losing in the fourth quarter, you might not throw the football.
Right.
Or if a team like the Bills last week were 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, last week, take the third quarter and run the ball 11 times and spend 8 minutes. You're kind of in trouble.
I had Saquon and Jaden Daniels to do 5 rushing yards each quarter, and Jaden Daniels only didn't do it in the fourth.
Oh, really?
Everything else, yeah. So that was a frustrating one. But something else, another thing that you can do is you're kind of looking through these, and if you really feel confident in Kelsey and AJ Brown getting to 25, you can ladder it up to 40, and AJ Brown and Kelsey getting 40 yards each and a half is plus 3,100. Now I'm not making that an official play, but I sprinkle a little bit on there because it fits what I think is going to happen. I did, because I think it's what's going to happen. So, I think at 31 to 1 odds, it's got value in it.
All right, let's review what Dan has done for us though so far. First week, we won some money. I think we won like a unit and a half ish.
I don't remember. I have to go back. I think it might have been less than that.
Okay, but bottom line is we had more money than
reverse sweep pretty well.
We had more money than we went after it than we started with, which is a good thing. And we're gonna wear it. You're gonna wear it. The conference championship weekend was rough. Some bad beats, and we took a donut. Yeah. But that's where you stay disciplined, and if you keep with your units, you're not. It's okay. I love bouncing back. I hated the week in between gambling wise because I feel like usually when you have a weekend like that, you usually bounce back pretty nicely. So I like what we're rolling with this week, Dan.
Yeah. We got some straights that can get us some money, and then some of these little longer shots that make it fun. Now I do have so now we've gotten that's the meat and potatoes.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
We
did your work.
Our due diligence here.
Okay.
Now the goofy stuff.
All right.
You can't bet this in America, but in Canada, they allow some of these like super weird novelty props. Okay. Travis Kelce to propose after the game.
Oh, wow.
MGM is offering plus 900. So 9 to 1.
That's it though?
Now get this. 95% of the total bets are on yes, but only 5% of the money is on yes.
Really?
So that means that very few people are putting a ton of money on no.
But like that's not going to happen unless they win. I feel like that number's too low.
You're also counting on them winning.
Yeah. I feel like I need more juice. I would think it'd be like plus 2,000 or plus 2,500.
I think it's a terrible bet.
Yes. But I love the fact that it's out there.
I mean, and here's the other thing. There are some super bad bets out there. Super bad bets. I think DraftKings, was offering any defensive player to win MVP at like 65 to 1, and you're like, dude, like that's not even the ballpark of where it should be.
Yeah.
When you have these superstars on offense and the quarterbacks and Saquon, I don't even want to entertain what those odds should be, but it's not even close.
Yes. No, I completely agree.
So just because something has long odds and you're like, well, Richard Dent, it's like, yeah, different game, man.
Yeah.
Don't get suckered into seeing those super long odds on something and thinking I might be the one. Because it just, when you see those tickets online and stuff, what you don't see in the background is that person spent money on every single category.
Yep.
Just wanting to have the ticket to get the clout on Twitter, Instagram, whatever.
Yeah, Mr. Longshot.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, people, they have those final score predictions too, and somebody always has it. You're like, oh my God, he picked the score. That dude picked 50 different scores.
Yes.
Like,
no, it's 100% true. If you put enough fishing lines in the water, something's going to bite.
Well, and a lot of these places look at it as, their marketing budget.
Yeah.
Okay. They know that if they can pick the correct score, even if it takes 100 different $50 bets, all these major accounts will be sending out that ticket and tagging them, and you call that marketing, and there you go. Don't be suckered into the suckers bets.
Any other goofy ones?
Yeah. So
any that we can do in America and not having to go to Canada in order to gamble.
No. But I posted on my Twitter account, Dan Tomlin Bets, I posted the covers.com Super Bowl prop sheet, and we always print this out and have everybody that's at our party fill it out and then keep score and do prizes. And some of the ones they have on there, length of the national anthem, coin toss, will the first offensive play be rushing or passing, first team to score, first turnover. But then you get down to which song will be the first one at halftime. How many songs will be played? And then it's back into football, and then it's what color will the Gatorade be? Combined points, MVP. And so what covers will do during the game is update those, because a lot of times you don't actually see the Gatorade.
Yeah.
And so you'll be like, well, what was it?
Yeah.
Covers will put it on their Twitter, like it was blue Gatorade or whatever, so that you can keep score. But that's a fun thing that we do as a family. We have 15 people get together and
that's teaching kids to gamble early. And I can't think of a better way to raise the youth of America than teaching this stuff at an early age.
Matt,
go ahead.
That game, that AFC Championship game ended, and 3 minutes later, my brother-in-law goes, "Hey, the boys want to know if you can put in some touchdown parlays for the Super Bowl." And shout out Luke and Jake. And I'm like, this is the most I'm a degenerate. This is the most degenerate stuff I've ever seen in my life.
My nieces love, and not even my nieces. So, I want to say 2-3 years ago, one of the books would always give a boost to your first touchdown score, and it would be a mystery guy. So basically you would click it, opt in, and they would give you the person that you get the mystery boost on. And so I started doing a few of them for fun, and they started hitting. And so I told my oldest Charlie and his friend Miles, they're over watching football every Sunday, I said, for the Sunday night game, you can pick the first touchdown scorer. So first touchdown scorers become a thing in my family. And that's when it comes to discipline, though, because while it's fun, there's certain times, and what I'll try to do is, if I got a free bet here or a free bet there, that's worth it. If I got a $10 free bet, $15, $20 free bet, you put that on that, and then you can either win or you lose something you really never had in the first place. So,
right.
But it was wild. There was a string for Charlie and Miles where they were winning every single week. And I was texting it to a few buddies, and they were always playing their play, and they were winning incredible every single time. And they would it was funny. One time my buddy was doing pretty well, and he's like, if Charlie hits this, I'm going to give him $100. And that morning in my wife's Venmo was $100 from my buddy for Charlie and Miles for winning their first touchdown score. So that kind of stuff, while it sounds very degenerate, I got my nieces that on Christmas, I said to both of them, or all three of them, and trust me, I got them Christmas gifts. I wasn't that uncle that was but I gave them each, I said, hey, you each got $25. We can use my account. There's football games on, basketball games on. What do you guys like? And they picked them all. And I go, if they win, I'll give you the money. If you lose, it's on Uncle Matt. Not a single one of them won any money, but that's okay. They were going to get it anyway.
There's no difference between that and buying them scratch offs.
1,000%.
Growing up.
Nope. Absolutely. I agree with you 100% on that one. Any other goofy bets before we let you go? I'm going to do the sheet thing. We're going to have some people over. I'm going to go print that thing out. That's a really good idea. And it keeps non-football people interested in the game, and it keeps the non-halftime show people interested in the halftime show, in my opinion.
Yep.
So I like it. I'm going to do that.
Well, I'm going to be a non-halftime show guy this year.
Yeah, I'm not excited about it. I don't know it.
I don't know any songs.
Bobby Metcalf was on yesterday, and I said, "What is it?" And he said, it's Kendrick Lamar," and he goes, and I wouldn't even have said it right. It's like CISA, but it's CSA.
Okay.
I wouldn't even have said it correctly.
Sorry, CSA. Not K was okay. I didn't.
Yeah. No, I don't have any interest
letter.
I have no interest in the halftime. I'll watch it. I'm okay with it. It's not like I'm not.
Yeah, sure.
But
I'll watch it too.
Yeah, I don't have it. The year it was like Snoop and Dr. Dre and Eminem and all those. Oh man, like I was the guy that people were telling to shut up because they wanted to hear them and not me. So I won't have that problem this year at my household.
We're not cool anymore. By the way.
No, those days.
You know that my sons know Snoop Dogg. Do you know how they know him?
Why?
He's a character on Fortnite.
Oh my gosh. You know what? Another bad parenting. And sometimes I have these interviews and I forget that people can watch them. So I got to be careful what I say. But my kids know way too many Eminem songs. In my mind, they don't know enough. But like, I guess to the general public and to like maybe grandparents, they probably know too many Eminem songs. But I guess I was the same way. Don't you remember listening to music you weren't supposed to listen to when you were like,
oh yeah, dude, younger? Especially back then. They had the parental advisory. You're like, then I want that.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm not supposed to have it.
I don't know who it is. I just want to tell people. Yep. I listened to the very first Chronic CD. Going to Detroit for a family reunion, my cousin brought it, and we had it. He had a CD player. Like, I don't even know if it was a CD, Dan. It may have been a cassette. I can't remember. But I thought it was the coolest thing.
This is going down a very embarrassing road right now.
We were in back with we were like switching headphones, and we thought we were the coolest kids in the world, and now we're just dorks and old and all that kind of stuff. Anyways, I don't know how that got down to that road, but any other goofy bets before we let you go?
No, man. I think that we're set. Hopefully, we're coming back here to recap it, and we're winning some money. Good luck to everybody. Like you've said before, on X, I've been posting a lot of basketball plays too, and we hit a monster last weekend, 99-1 on LeBron James and now I don't even remember who it was.
I did see it.
Oh, LeBron and Josh Hart.
I did see it, but I saw the celebration instead of the post before it, which is the worst. Then I mean,
that is the worst.
Yes, I want to be happy for you. I do. But like, I also think like if I would have seen that like 3 hours earlier, we could have been happy together. And that's what I want. I want everybody to be happy together. So hopefully take these plays. And again, like we always say with this, and we mean it, like don't outspend your means. Yeah. If it's $10 bets, $5 bets, it's whatever you can do to make life a little more interesting. Down. Do that as well. And again, it's Dan Tomlin Bets is where you can check him out on Twitter. Danny, thank you. Best of luck during the Super Bowl. If you come up with anything good extra, text me, please.
We'll do.
All right. He is Dan Tomlin. He'll be back next week with how we did in the Super Bowl and what we're going to gamble on next. So best of luck to all you gamblers out there. The Super Bowl coming up this Sunday. Well, coming up on the show, we got more to get to. You're watching OTA on a Thursday. We will be right back.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West. the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
You from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air on a Thursday here in the Quad Cities. Thank you so much for joining us. A gloomy, icy Thursday, but we are just about 48 to 72 hours away from the Super Bowl once again. We want to thank our guests for joining us today. If you missed any of the show, Jordan Delp was here in the first hour of the show to talk about Augustana basketball team playing some good basketball as we hit the home stretch, including 3 of their last 5 at the Carver Center. So, if you're wanting to see some really good college basketball up close and personal, check out Augustana. They are on the road this Saturday, but then they have 3 of their last 4 games at home as they look to clinch a spot in the CCIW tournament. Also, talk to Jordan about Quad City basketball. One of the guys I think that knows the most about what goes on in this area is Jordan Delp, and talk to him about the most competitive person he's worked with or the biggest competitor. That was an interesting answer. So go ahead and check out Jordan's interview if you haven't done that already. Also, congratulations once again to Lauren Walker, the all-time leading scorer at Central DeWitt, passing Lindsey Smith. She did that on Tuesday. Central DeWitt back in action again tonight against Johnston, and then they will look to continue to inch their way closer to a MAC title on Friday night. So if you missed the Lauren Walker interview, go check that out. Also, Dan Tomlin giving some plays, and Danny's due because he went 0-4 in the conference championship weekend. I think he's going to bounce back in a big-time way. So go ahead and check out all of Dan's plays. Check him out at Dan Tomlin Bets, as it's a huge Saturday, or Sunday, I should say, of gambling on the Super Bowl Sunday, the commercials, the halftime show, all the fun. So it's a big Sunday coming up. Hopefully you guys are ready for the Super Bowl as well. We want to thank all of our guests from this week. A programming note, we will not have a show tomorrow. Full disclosure, my wife is out of town and my boys are very busy, so I am going to take a Friday off. It was funny, I joked yesterday, I had to ask my boss, thinking that would be myself. Well, my boss is actually my wife, so she's good with it. So no show tomorrow, but that gives you guys a great chance to catch up on some of the great shows that we've had throughout the week, some of the good, great interview guests we've had. Pat Anger is always on Mondays. Go check that one out. Wildman Wednesday was on Wednesday. It was great to catch up with Logan Lee. Check out his interview from Tuesday. So we've had a lot of good guests on this week. Of course, when we come back the following Monday, it's the Monday after the Super Bowl. Pat Anger will be along with us, as always, on Mondays. We're also chasing down Alex Taney for next week, Carter Bell for next week, several other guests coming up next week as well. And also, we got this little bet that Pat and I are dealing with right now. We talked about it on Monday, and we're talking about it on social media. Pat and I are going to play pig or horse or whatever, one of those two things. Pat claims to have beaten me in the past. That's never happened. So we're going to do that. We want you guys to help us figure out a good way to make the loser pay for losing. So we got to put something on it. Pat wants me to shave my head if he beats me. 1, he's not going to beat me. 2, I'm not going to shave my head. So if you have any ideas, make sure you contact us on social media, reach out to me as well, and have some fun with us as we try to be a little creative and have have a competitive game of basketball coming up. Hopefully, we're going to get that done next week at some point. So, everyone, I want you guys to enjoy the Super Bowl. If you have not subscribed, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe on your podcasting platforms that you watch us. I always tell people, check out the podcast because you don't have to look at me. And that's always much more pleasant. So enjoy the weekend, enjoy the Super Bowl, and we will be back with a brand new week of shows coming up on Monday, right here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you back here next week.